Hi, I'm going to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about the Mona Lisa Smiles video. Going to answer some of the questions that were proposed and kind of just work through some of the thoughts that I had. One of the things that I wanted to talk about first was the third question in terms of in what ways do you see identities of sexual orientation, gender identity, and social class converging in these spaces? Um, One of the things that I thought was really cool was that the movie really brought all of the social class, the gender class, social class, really all of that and sexual identity into that. In terms of Catherine, but also some of the main characters that were also a part of that too. One of the things that was super interesting to me was in terms of the unifying model of sexual identity development. I felt like as student affairs professionals, we're probably going to experience this more ways than none, where an individual identifies within a particular social group, but then also finds their own self-identification throughout their own life and what they had been accustomed to prior to coming into, their first college experience. So it's I could feel that throughout the movie. I could definitely see that transition with some of the women who maybe thought they were going to get married and be a housewife because that's what their expectations were. But I definitely could see some of that transition happen. And I think Catherine, the professor, did a great job at breaking some of that stuff down and making that space really appropriate for all the students. So that kind of leads into some of the gender roles that were socially constructed. So the minute the movie started, you could tell that the institution or the school, the college was truly elite, and it was for kind of the finest women who had the highest social class, highest income status. Maybe they had parents or other moms who had gone there, and so there really was kind of this elite status to this institution. But one of the things that I read throughout our text is that it talks a little bit about how education creates, maintains, and reproduces inequality. And so you could just tell that this school was already at an elite status, and if you didn't catch up with the classes or you didn't follow along in the class or read the syllabus before the first class, you were already behind. And you could definitely see that Catherine experienced that the minute she walked into her first course, because those girls were prepared and they were on it, and so she felt as if she wasn't even up to par with them. And so you could tell and sense that inequality, but I also felt like the gender roles that were constructed, these women are in this school to learn all of these subjects, but then they're expected to be housewives. They're expected to go and take care of their husbands and make the best dishes. And even though they're going to school for all of these things, they're not really getting an opportunity to apply some of those theories. And so I really was I know what it was like to live back then. But I think that breaking down those gender roles in the sense of an all women's college was super important. And I think that was Catherine's whole overall goal of, I think, getting there, was to really break down what has already been constructed there. So that kind of leads into the first/last question for me, but how does socialization play in the identity construct within the film? Like I said, that social status, so income, shared cultural experience. You could definitely tell that there was an upper class identification. They were, pinned to be with an individual or a man. But there were a lot of women who were in the school that really defied that role. So I can't think of what the actress name is or what her character name is, but it's Jake Gyllenhaal's sister. And she kind of defies all of the other women and really does her own thing. And so I just thought that was nice to see, because all of these women are sharing the same cultural experience, but they're all finding really their identity within themselves and realizing through Catherine's teachings that, you can see Catherine, who is a 32-year-old woman who is not married, is a professor, and just really inspiring and showing these women who were made to be housewives that there's another way to live. And so I think that in application to like today's work. And, we still have a lot of those institutions that are primarily male, female. We have a lot of like culturally based institutions that are elite in some sorts. And so it's just interesting because I think a lot of the teachings that are happening, and it was supposed to be set back, in like 1963, or 53, 53. And so it's just interesting because even those applications are prevalent today in a lot of the work that student affairs professionals are constantly breaking down. So I appreciated the film. I thought there was a lot of connections between the readings. I think there needs to be more talk about potential inequality within educational settings, because, I think of this text that I'd read. It was Unequal Education. It was like wealth opportunity, where, Harvard has already kind of like set itself up to be like a super elite school. So, other institutions can't really meet that. And so I just thought there was a lot of applications, and I really enjoyed some of the conversations that were kind of surrounded around some of these lessons. So really appreciated that. Happy to talk a little bit more about this too. So cool. Thanks so much.